Hello, fellow YouTubers. Thank you for joining another episode of Musings with MGL. I'm going to start off by apologizing for the lighting and a little bit of echo you might be getting in here. I am doing this video from what I like to call the home studio, temporary home studio, because essentially my law office has been shut down somewhat voluntarily, mostly voluntarily, because of this virus situation. My assistant and most of the staff that works at our office are in the what you would call the at-risk category with their age and pre-existing conditions, etc. So I have decided to basically allow everybody to kind of work from home. The workers wanted to do that. The other lawyers in the office thought that'd be a good idea. So everybody's working from home right now, and that includes me. So I don't want to go all the way into the office just to make a quick little video. So I brought all this stuff home. Figured I'd try one out here at the office. So I've set it up in this temporary space right now in my home. It's not the best space. I'm going to have to try a bunch of different places and see if I can figure out which one might be better, because the lighting, as I said, is crap and there's a little bit of an echo. But we're going to plow through, much like everything else with this virus. We're all making do and kind of going around with what we're going to go around with. So today's episode is what I want to talk about today is I've been getting a lot of questions from people about how the government is going to go about enforcing these orders that they've been putting out. So whenever the government puts out an order that says all the restaurants need to close except for takeout, or when they put out an order that says all businesses must close except for essential businesses, when they put out orders like that, how can they be enforced? People are always asking me, well, what happens if I don't? What happens if I want to keep my business open? I literally this morning had my lawn service guy talking to me in the front yard saying, hey, what happens if they shut down businesses due to excessive, what happens when they shut down businesses due to excessive, I don't know, audio there. As I said before, it's all unedited here. We don't mess around with anything. So what happens when if the governor comes out and says all non-essential businesses shut down, including my yard business? What happens if I keep mowing the lawn? How can they shut me down? How can they turn me off? What are they going to do to me if that happens? Well, there's a couple different things they can do. The first thing that I started off by telling people to do that they could do is basically kind of go through the health department. So one of the first orders that came out had to deal with things like bars. So they shut down all the bars and said you couldn't have any bars. And then they shut down the restaurants and said they can only be takeout. So people are like, well, what happens if a bar doesn't want to close? Well, as it is here, as I said, I'm in Florida, but I imagine it's this way. I'm guaranteed it's this way in every state. In order to run a business like that, in order to run a bar or a restaurant, you have to have an occupational license, or you have to have a liquor license, or if you have to have a health department license. And most of the enforcement for somebody like that would probably come through something like the health department. So it's no different than if they came and did an inspection at your house and found, or your restaurant, and found a whole bunch of cockroaches or something. The health department just comes in, slaps a padlock on your restaurant, and tells you can't open until you fix all of those issues. So they would do the same thing here. The health department could just come in, shut down your license. They can shut down your occupational license. The county could shut down and pull your occupancy license. They could certainly take away and suspend your liquor license, which means that even when this is all over, you're not going to get it back, and most bars aren't going to take that chance. So under certain normal provisions that already exist, so if you had somebody that had a bar and they were selling, illegal alcohol or selling to minors or doing something that they couldn't be doing, again, a health department issue, they could come and shut that down anyway. So they would do that for things like restaurants. In addition, some new thing that they're starting to do, and I'm just going to pull up this little article here that's been making its way around today, and the headline is Los Angeles off water and power for non-essential businesses that refuse to close. So the city of Los Angeles, the mayor basically said, if you do not follow our rules and our lockdown procedures and shut off your business, we are going to shut off your water, and we are going to shut off your power. So if you think, oh, I'm just going to stay open, what are you going to do about it? Well, they're going to shut off your water, and they're going to shut off your power. They're going to tell the garbage company to stop coming and picking up your garbage. They basically just cut you off from the utilities and essentially force you to close whether you want to or not. So that's another way that they can do it. That's kind of a brand new one. That's one of the first cities that I've seen that has done that, but I imagine that most cities will probably follow suit on that, because as we all know, the government basically controls the utilities when it comes to everything. So that's the second thing that they would do. So number one is they would shut you down through any sort of like health department thing. They would pull your occupational license, et cetera, et cetera. Then they'll turn off your water and your power. The other thing and the last thing that a lot of them will do is they're going to have the right under emergency powers. Pretty much all states, when they grant the governor specifically emergency powers, that comes with enforcement mechanisms. There's always a provision in enforcement mechanisms or in those kind of edicts to enforce them. So there's going to be provisions in all of your emergency powers acts for the states that gives the authority, whether it's the governor or the county. If your county has a charter that says they're allowed to do that, then they'll have to go by whatever the charter is. But certainly at the state level, the governors are all going to have enforcement powers that come along with their Emergency Powers Act. So they'll just start enforcing it, and that usually involves, they could be crimes. They could be anything from civil fines to arrest to shutting down your business. They're going to have all kinds of authorities for that. In fact, here locally where I practice law, as I've said a couple different times now, the courts are basically closed. They've shut down everything except what are considered emergency hearings. So they would be emergency hearings such as if you need to get an injunction because you're in fear of violence, they'll have a hearing on that. If somebody's like kidnapped a child and fled the jurisdiction and need to do like an emergency pickup order, they'll have a hearing on that. If somebody's in jail, the Constitution still generally requires, it requires them to have a hearing in front of a judge within 24 hours. Those can be suspended and extended if there's weird circumstances such as this, but they are still having those kind of first appearance emergency style hearings. One of the other things they're having, I'm going to read directly from the administrative order that was put out here locally, that additionally, and it says right here, additionally, the court will hear as necessary critical proceedings related to the state of emergency or the public health emergency, including but not limited to violation of quarantine or isolation, violation of orders to limit travel, violation of orders to close public or private buildings, and enforcement of curfew orders. So our courts are going to remain open for those emergency proceedings. So they will have legal mechanisms to shut you down. If, for example, if you don't want to stay open and they tell you to shut down and you don't, they can go to court. They can either enforce it through a criminal act, such as having you arrested probably under the Enforcement Act for the Emergency Powers Act for violating it. They could also do injunctions with the court. So they file a motion and they get a special court order that says this specific restaurant needs to shut down. And if you don't, then it becomes a contempt issue with the court. And contempt orders can be enforced through fines or jail, or the judge can order the sheriff to go out to your property and put a padlock on your door. So the courts are remaining open to enforce those kind of things. It's right there in the administrative order that was put out locally where I practice in Florida. So don't kid yourself. Don't think that it's my right, it's my business. Who the hell are they to tell me to shut down? I'll just stay open. There's nothing they can do about it. I mean, the sheriff, all he wants, certain sheriffs might say something like, well, we're not going to enforce that provision. Okay, that just means they won't go arrest you. But that's just one organization in your county or your city or your municipality, wherever you're at. There's, again, a health department. There's code enforcement. There's your local courts. There's all kinds of people who are going to enforce these things. So if you think that you're going to be able to just ignore it, look, this is my business. I need to feed my family. I'm going to stay open until somebody comes and shuts me down. You can do that. You can take that tact. And my guess is they will shut you down. And that's one of the ways that they'll do it. So I just want to do a quick video today to crank out that. I've been getting a lot of people, again, asking me about that every time I go to a shop. Again, it just happened this morning with the lawn guy, is what happens if I don't abide? What happens if I don't obey my government overlords? Well, what happens if you don't obey your government overlords is they'll do what they always do, which is assert their power, and they will find a way to shut you down. And then it's not just a matter of shutting you down just for the 2 weeks or 30 days or whatever the order is. If you obviously really anger them, again, said, for example, you're a bar, they'll just pull your license and they can probably suspend it for quite a while. They wouldn't necessarily just pull it for a couple of weeks. They could probably pull it forever if they felt the need to. You have to get approved for those things through a government agency. So if they're pissed off enough because of what you did during the virus outbreak, they could just pull your occupational license forever. And pretty much everything in the world these days requires a license from somebody, whether it's a bar, whether it's a dentist, a doctor, construction workers, handymen. They all basically need licenses from the government in one way or the other. And certainly if you have a brick and mortar store, you need occupancy licenses and health departments, and you got to be code, up to code, et cetera. So there's all kinds of ways that they're going to get you to shut down. So look, it may not be fair. It may seem like crap. I mean, it was certainly, they haven't done that locally. We're here out in Florida. Thankfully, our governor has resisted calls to basically do a stay at home, shelter in place, and shut down everything except essentials. And I applaud him for that. I actually agree with that strategy. Some people may not. Some people are free to, tell me in the comment section or give me a downvote that says, look, I don't agree with that. The governor should be shutting those things. But I actually applaud him for having the courage to resist some of the crazy overreach I think that's going on out there, and allow our businesses to still operate and still bring home money and be able to feed our family and pay our mortgages. So especially when they're screwing around up in Washington, D.C., passing some of these packages, this is not the time to be forcing people to shut down for no reason. But look, in the long run, you're going to have to follow the law like everything else. If you don't, you take whatever consequences that are going to come with that. Hire yourself a good lawyer if you need to fight any kind of stuff that comes into it. But that's basically the long and short of it, folks. Again, it's a short, abbreviated one here today. I apologize for the lighting and the audio. I'm going to spend tomorrow, since the courts are basically shut down, I'll be home, like I said, for the foreseeable future, I think. So I'll be hooking this up in different places in the house and seeing how they go. So maybe I'll get a in-depth tour of the MGL's home. That'd be kind of weird, but we'll figure it out. I'll find a better place to do these, but this one I just wanted to crank out. So hopefully that answers all your questions. If you do have questions, you can put them in the comment below. And if you do me a favor, if you like this video and you like my channel, when I'm trying to get started here, go ahead and click the like button down at the bottom. The views are great. I've been actually getting quite a few views, but I'd really like it if people could click the like buttons and click subscribe. And click on the little bell that's over here in the corner. I think that's the right corner. Click on the little bell for notifications so you get notified whenever I do these. I have been putting them up, on a lot of different websites, so you're getting a notice anyway. But it would really help the channel out and help me push this thing forward if you all would just hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, give me a like, give me a comment, share with all your friends. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, again, stay open if you can. And then as always, carry on.